Hello, everybody. I see we have some more people joining the call. We'll go ahead and get started. And if anyone joins the call later, this has all been recorded as well, so you can catch up on anything that you miss. Welcome to Masterclass number 5, How to Make the Most of Your Space. Just so everybody knows, the chat is on. You can pop questions into the chat. We will likely get to them at the very end of the webinar. We have some time there. So we will be looking at the chat intermittently throughout the class, but we'll definitely get to your questions at the end of the class. Okay, let's start with some introductions. My name is Addie Byrne. I am the Director of Client Engagements here at Neatoscan Upright Labs. I have been with this organization for a little over 3 years. I have 9 years total in account management, which is really just helping clients achieve the highest revenue results possible. Optimizing your e-commerce warehouse space is something I feel pretty passionately about. I truly believe it's one of the most effective tools for decreasing your costs and increasing the value of the product that you have. I'll pass to Cal to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cal Fox, one of the operations associates with Upright Neato. My background is primarily in lean manufacturing. I've got a lot of experience in warehouse optimization and then been on a lot of continuous improvement efforts. Looking forward to chatting with you today.
Thanks, Cal. Today's agenda, we are going to talk about why we're focusing on warehouse space. So talk through why it's important to prioritize optimizing your warehouse space and how this will help you scale. Here at Upright Neato, we base our processes in lean methodology. And so we'll talk through 3 of the tools that we use to implement lean when we're looking at facility builds out and optimizing space. So why focus on space? An operationally efficient space will increase your team member productivity. It will decrease your costs. And both of those things will lead to direct increases in your bottom line revenue. As you can see, we have a lot of reasons here. I'm not going to go through each of those points line by line, but I am going to call out a couple of them individually to explain how they will directly decrease your costs or increase your revenue. To get us started, we can look at number 3 there, faster order fulfillment. So an operationally efficient space means that your team members are taking the least amount of steps possible to pick, pack, and ship those items. And that will lead to decreased labor costs because it is decreased time between each of those steps. It also leads to increased customer satisfaction, right? Because those buyers are getting their products faster. Maybe instead of 1-day ship time, or instead of 3-day ship time, you're down to 1-day ship time. Operationally efficient spaces also have standards of procedure. That is a core tenet of an operationally efficient space. And that will lead to improved inventory accuracy, if we're looking at point number 5 there. Improved inventory accuracy will lead to fewer lost items. And that means that there are fewer refunds that you're going to have to give to your customers. So there's fewer costs there. And that means that there's less time spent that your team has to do to go back and forth on customer service messages. And they're able to focus more of their productivity into those high value, high return activities. So just some of the ways that you can see those benefits of really focusing on optimizing your warehouse space.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick overview on what lean is and what the continuous improvement cycle looks like. In a nutshell, lean is a management approach that focuses on creating value with fewer resources and less waste by thinking about what the customer actually requires and then what work the team is working on. The continuous improvement cycle itself is an ongoing process of analyzing our performance, identifying opportunities for improvement, and making incremental changes to our processes. And after we've executed those changes, we want to make sure that we've yielded a positive result. So we're always going to review. So to break that down a little bit further for you, I'm going to use an example through the call today of an issue in a shipping department, just to kind of make it easier to understand. So in step one, we would identify a problem, and that might look like currently the order fulfillment area is running behind and on-time delivery is suffering as a result. So step two, we would start planning for a future state of that department. And we might identify currently the area is really unorganized. We can't find anything. And so it would really benefit from a 5S project. After we've identified that, we're going to rapidly make those improvements using what we call a Kaizen event. And we'll explain that a little bit further down the road. And then maybe we would 5S the shipping department as that event. So, and then step four, we're always going to want to measure the results of the changes that were implemented and make sure that we're seeing an increase in the overall productivity of the team and an on-time delivery as a result. One important thing to note about this cycle is that it can become the team's culture for problem solving and removing unnecessary waste from their processes. So they always know the steps to go through in order to make positive change. Okay. And so the next thing I wanted to discuss with you is something called value stream mapping. I want to try to describe how we use it with Upright. To break it down a little bit for you, when we value stream map, it's a lean practice that involves identifying and diagramming a value stream, including all the actions that are needed to take place to take a product from unprocessed product to order fulfillment. So when we do this, we can visualize and improve the flow of work across all of our processes, and it allows us to analyze our current state and plan for a future state that'll meet our productivity levels. It's extremely beneficial to have a visual representation of your work, all the way from raw product to order fulfillment, because it makes it a lot easier to recognize inefficiencies and non-value added steps that we find in our process. And then once we've identified those, we're able to prioritize which improvements we want to make first to where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. And then these efforts often lend themselves to a streamlined system with reduced waste.
Thanks, Cal. What we'll do next is look at some of the ways that we actually implement this with clients. So you know what value stream mapping is, you know the benefits of using it. How can you directly apply this to your own business? And the way, one of the most consistent ways that we use value stream mapping is creating floor plans, either when we're launching a new e-commerce department or redesigning a current e-commerce department. As Cal said, one of the main benefits of a value stream map is visualizing the flow of product from start to finish with the goal of identifying and reducing waste. You can see with the arrows on this floor plan, an actual floor plan that we have put together, we are actually, drawing out the flow of product through an e-commerce warehouse. And the goal here, the primary goal, is to ensure that we're taking the path of the least amount of steps and reducing any waste in movement of the team members. These floor plans also help us identify and visualize the amount of equipment that we would need in the space that we're working in, as well as the team members needed to meet the revenue goals of the department. So we use this floor plan as a value stream map in tandem with analyses like a cost per listing analysis or a headcount analysis to ensure that we're hitting those budget goals for the client. Another way we use value stream mapping is to map a client's current process and future state process. So what you're looking at now is a future state process that we mapped for a client. We love to put a flow chart together of a current state because flow charts will really quickly visualize where there's opportunity for improvement. When you have a curly Q arrow circling back around and arrows going in every direction, you can very easily see we're not getting that top-down movement. So we're able to identify those areas, implement solutions, and then remap into a flow chart like this. An additional benefit of value stream mapping in a flow chart like this is that you can continue to use this as a visual SOP, standard of procedure, for your team. And so it can be used as a reference for current team members or for training and new team members to ensure that you have standardized processes. Everybody's doing this process in the same way, which is a core tenet of 5S, which will be our next slide here.
Okay, so 5S, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that is all about. It's defined as a methodology that results in a workplace that's clean, uncluttered, safe, and well organized, all in an effort to reduce waste and to optimize your productivity. It's designed to help build a quality work environment for your team, and we want to do that both physically and mentally. So let's go back to our shipping department, and I'm going to talk through what this could look like. So the very first step in 5S is the sort, and it's all about ensuring that the items needed for the process are readily available for the team. Equally as important as making sure items are readily available, we want to make sure that unnecessary items are removed from the area so that we free up some space. After we've identified all of the items we need to complete the process, we're going to put them in a logical order so that we can step right through the process with ease. And after that, after we've set all of those in order, we're going to give the department a deep clean or shine. And this is also the moment you're going to want to address any kind of safety issues that you're coming across or any maintenance that's needed for any of your equipment that you're using. After we've done this, we're going to standardize our processes so that all of the team members are fulfilling orders in the shipping department consistently, and their practices and standards are being held across the entire department. And then in order to sustain the work that we've done, we are always going to want to measure our performance and continually keep improving these processes. So after we've done this in the shipping department, we're going to want to monitor, see if it's yielding the results that we want. And if not, we might go through this cycle again. And so one major benefit of a properly 5S area, I'd like to point out, is that someone with very little knowledge of the process is much more able to step in for someone else. And it reduces the training time needed to bring that team member up to speed. So for instance, if a shipping team member is missing that day, it might buffer the time needed to bring a replacement up to speed.
Yeah, so what we're looking at on this slide here is a 5S shipping station, as Cal was just talking about. And what this is demonstrating is the first three S's: sort, set in order, and shine. You can see, maybe if you squint your eyes a little bit, you can see that each section of the shipping station is labeled. It's the size of the box, where the foam inserts go, where the poly mailers go, what size the poly mailers are. You can even see, down to extra tape rolls, tape dispenser, where the stapler would go in a desk organizer is all labeled. That's that sort, set in order. And then maybe you can't, tell exactly from this photo, but we did shine a little bit. We cleaned it right before this photo. So the first three of the 5 S's there. And then the next tool that we'll talk about here are the daily warehouse task guides. And what these are is they're a helpful tool that really demonstrate the standardize and sustain aspect of 5S. We find these to be a very low lift and high impact way to implement 5S elements into your workplace. What you're seeing here is examples of 3 of the daily warehouse task guides. If you do scan that QR code, and this deck will be going out afterwards, so if you have your phone up to the screen right now, you can also just wait until the email goes out after if you'd like. We have them for processing, photography, listing, shipping, the overall warehouse checklist. There might be a couple more in there as well. So what these guides do is they standardize by ensuring that all team members know what's expected of them at the end of the day, that they are restocking their station, they are cleaning their station, they are putting everything back in its home. And that means that all team members, when they start at the beginning of the next day, be it at the same workstation or maybe they are sharing workstations, know what to expect when they're coming into work. These guides also sustain. So by making this a daily habit, you are enshrining the 5S methodology into your work culture.
Great. I'm going to talk to you about one more thing, and that is what a Kaizen event looks like. The word Kaizen is actually a Japanese term that means continuous improvement. These events are typically a short duration workshop exercise, and it's designed to improve usually a specific area of your process or a certain problem you're having. So you narrow down the scope. It's a focused and intensive effort that aims to address these issues and also implement an innovative solution. So after you've mapped out your value stream and you've identified an area of waste, how do we overcome this roadblock? This is when a Kaizen event comes into play. So keep in mind, Kaizen events require pulling team members from multiple departments. However, we really believe that a properly planned and executed event will overshadow any short-term departmental disruption or labor loss. So if we go back to our example of our shipping department, a Kaizen event itself could look like we need to 5S the shipping department. So, and these teams or these events also help team members engage because they will become to see the tangible benefits of speaking up when they see an issue. And when that results in a rapid improvement in their work environment, that overall makes employees a lot happier. Our aim of the Kaizen event is always to achieve immediate efficiency improvements that result in cost savings, enhanced quality, and of our work product when we're engaging the team members in the process. This helps foster a sense of pride within the department and further develop their problem-solving skills, as well as lean processes overall. So the key to a Kaizen, to bring it back home, it is meant to be a rapid improvement event followed with immediate positive results.
Thanks, Cal. What I'll talk you through in this slide is the process for planning and the results of a Kaizen event that we did with a client. And this was in December of 2022. So the identified problem, the scope of the Kaizen event, was that there was over 80 gaylords of backlog of jewelry for this client, for their e-commerce department. And some of the negative impacts of that, right, is that's 80 gaylords of unclaimed revenue. And while they're sitting there, there's potential loss of product through theft or potentially deterioration. And the e-commerce department was also starting to lose store buy-in because the stores weren't seeing revenue of one of their most valuable categories that they were sending into e-commerce. This lent itself very well to a Kaizen event, right? Because it had high potential ROI in the short term. If we can get that jewelry listed, we're going to see a big bump in our GMV, gross merchandising value. But there was also a clear opportunity to implement new processes that would create lasting change. So our process for planning for this identified the scope of the event, identified the key players needed. And this is really important, right? Because Cal mentioned you're going to be pulling from other departments, and that's going to affect the overall productivity of the entire organization, right? So you want to pull from areas where you know it won't have too much of a negative impact. For example, we actually did not pull from shipping to help out with this Kaizen event because we know how important it is to ensure that those products keep getting shipped out within the time frame that they need to be shipped out. We did pull from photography, from listing, from processing. We also pulled from the executive team for the client because those were areas where we could either take a hit to productivity or team members were able to shift around their priorities and make room for the event. The results of this event were great. I was very excited to see in the month following the Kaizen event, it was a 1.5 day long event. We moved through the jewelry backlog, and then we trained the team to implement new processes to increase their productivity so that we wouldn't end up in this backlog 6 months down the road. We saw a 27% increase in the client's GMV in the month following the event, which is great. We love increased revenue. It's also very expected if you're all of a sudden just shoving a bunch of jewelry through the e-commerce department and into those listings. What I was even happier about is we saw an average increase of 16% to the client's GMV over a 6-month time period. And what that is telling me is that we were successful in implementing new SOPs that resulted in higher team productivity and thus consistently higher revenue for the client. So we've introed you to lean methodology. We've talked you through a few of the lean tools that we use and that you could use in your e-commerce department. We've talked a lot about facility build-outs, and we look at those, we do builds, which is start to finish if you don't already have an e-commerce department. And we do redesign. So maybe you already have a well-operating e-commerce department and you either want to redesign your current space or you want to move to a new space. If you're interested in learning more about that, we'll have our contact information at the end. Some of the most common questions we get about builds and redesigns are, what kind of timeline are we looking at here? For a build, from start to finish, you sign the contract. It can take 3 to 5 months until you have a fully operational e-commerce department. We can do it in 3 months. Sometimes the things that can really delay that is if hiring can take longer within your department, or if getting approvals can take longer within your department, which is why we buffer it with that 3 to 5 month timeline. With a redesign, one of the most common questions we get is, how long is my e-commerce operation going to be down? And with all the redesigns we've done, we have never had an e-commerce operation be down for more than a single day. So we do all of the prep work right up until the day of. We shut down your current e-commerce department. We move everybody over into the new space. We start doing value add tasks right away. So people get right away back to listing and shipping while we set up any of the rest of the equipment that needs to be set up. So not more than a loss of a single day of operations. We will see sometimes for 2 to 3 weeks afterwards, either a slight dip or stagnation in productivity as the team adjusts to the new space. That being said, I will move on to our next slide here. And I'm looking at point 3 here under annual growth. Clients that engage in redesigns with us see a 59% year-over-year growth, and that's compared to the 4% growth that our clients see if they're just on our software. So 55% increase in growth for clients that engage in a redesign. For clients that launch with a build with our services team, we see after 12 months, their average GMV is $13,000 higher per month than clients that don't launch with a build. And we see that also supported in the quarterly over quarterly percent increase for those clients that launch with a build. So we do see these facility build-outs, these redesigns have high revenue returns for the clients that engage in them. This is a short video of a redesign we completed for a client in January 2023. You're going to see a lot of the signature services aspects here. Clean space, very well organized. Everything is standardized. We love ourselves some floor tape. I wish we could zoom in on just how we label the heck out of everything, implement those new SOPs, but you can always learn a little bit more about that if you follow up with us after this webinar. So thank you all for joining today. Cal and I are so excited to be able to share this information with you. We will send out a recording of this webinar and a copy of the deck in an email. If you're interested in learning more about engaging with monthly growth support or doing a build or a redesign, you can reach out to myself, you can reach out to Cal, you can reach out to anyone that has an Upright or Neatoscan email, and we'll get you in touch with the right people. All right, did anyone have any questions for us? Wonderful. Looks like no questions. If you have any questions that come up after this, please feel free to email us and we'd be happy to talk them through. There is a cost to the rebuild, so we'd be happy to get you in touch with our growth team to talk through. There's kind of a lot of different variables that go into those costs, so be happy to talk you through them. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.